Episode O, the Temple Lot Case. The Temple Lot Case, also known as the Temple Lot Suit, was a high-stakes legal battle in the 1890s that tested the very foundation of ownership of property within the Latter-day Saint movement. The case attracted a roster of significant witnesses, including prominent figures from the founding generation of Mormonism, influential leaders from its contentious second generation, and notable characters from Missouri's storied history. Media coverage was extensive, with newspapers ranging from the New York Times to the Anaconda Standard providing in-depth reporting on the suit. Officially titled The Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Complainant v. The Church of Christ at Independence, Missouri, this lawsuit revolved around the control of the Temple Lot, a piece of land steeped in religious significance. The Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, RLDS Church, now Community of Christ, aggressively pursued legal action, demanding the expulsion of the Church of Christ, Temple Lot, from the property. Although the RLDS Church initially secured a victory, their triumph was short-lived, as the decision was overturned on appeal, leaving the ownership of this contested land unresolved. The Church of Christ, Temple Lot, challenged the trial court's ruling by appealing to the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. The appellate court took a critical stance, questioning the trial court's handling of the Laches doctrine, which held that the RLDS Church had unreasonably delayed asserting its claim to the property. The appeals court further suggested that the Hedrickite's legal title might have been superior to that of the RLDS Church. In a dramatic twist, rather than simply overturning the trial court's decision, the appeals court dismissed the case entirely, effectively erasing the legal proceedings and leaving the Temple Lot in the possession of the Hedrickites by default. The RLDS Church's attempt to obtain a rehearing en banc was denied, and their subsequent appeal to the United States Supreme Court was rejected as well, sealing the case's conclusion. In response to the outcome, RLDS Church leaders interpreted the result as a technical victory, arguing that their claim to the Temple Lot was valid but undermined by procedural delays. Both Joseph Smith III and his successor, Israel A. Smith, maintained that while the doctrine of laws had prevented them from securing the title, the court had implicitly acknowledged their superior claim. Meanwhile, the Temple Lot Church has consistently asserted that the case validated their right to the property. The LDS Church, despite its support for the Hedrickites, has refrained from formally endorsing the case's outcome. The case had significant repercussions beyond the land dispute. It became a critical document in debates surrounding Mormon plural marriage, with the LDS Church using the trial to present testimonies from women about their polygamous relationships with Joseph Smith Jr., in an effort to counteract the then RLDS claims to succession. The LDS Church played a crucial role in supporting the Temple Lot Church by facilitating testimonies from women about their polygamous relationships with Joseph Smith. This strategic move aimed to counter the RLDS Church's claims of being the true successors to Smith. Dr. Brian Hales highlights the significance of this court testimony, noting its impact on the historical record starting with Helen Mar Kimball. If we didn't have the RLDS Church saying Joseph wasn't a polygamist, we wouldn't have the 1869 affidavits, we wouldn't have the 1877 collection by Andrew Jensen, and we wouldn't have the additional information from the Temple Lot case. Together, those three sources constitute 75% of what we know about Nauvoo polygamy. It's alarming to consider how limited our understanding would be if the RLDS Church hadn't taken that position. We'd be left with the accounts of John C. Bennett and William Law, and we would know only a fraction of what we currently understand about the topic. Let's take a look at the claims of polygamy that resulted in the Temple Lot case. Joseph Smith not only taught but actively practiced polygamy during his time in Ohio and Kirkland, with some accounts suggesting he began as early as 1830 in Colesville, New York. Throughout his life, Smith married multiple women, a fact that was publicly denied by both him and the leading quorums of the church he founded. It wasn't until 1852 that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, formally acknowledged Smith's practice of plural marriage. They revealed a written revelation from Smith that sanctioned the practice. Despite this acknowledgement, Smith's lawful widow, Emma Smith, his son Joseph Smith III, and the majority of members of the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, now Community of Christ, spent years disputing the evidence of Smith's plural marriages. They argued that Smith had publicly opposed polygamy and suggested that the practice was introduced in Utah under Brigham Young's leadership, a position no longer held by the Community of Christ. Today, Community of Christ minister John Hamer has produced compelling videos examining Joseph Smith's involvement in polygamy. Oliver Cowdery, a pivotal figure in the early Church of Christ, which later became the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, leveled a grave accusation against Joseph Smith. Cowdery alleged that he had caught Smith in a compromising situation with Fanny Alger, a teenage servant in the Smith household. Cowdery recounted a forceful confrontation with Smith, calling it a dirty, nasty, filthy scrape of his and Fanny Alger's, in which I strictly declared that I had never deserted from the truth in the matter, and as I supposed was admitted by himself. As Richard Bushman reveals in Rough Stone Rolling, Smith never denied a relationship with Alger, but insisted it was not adulterous. He wanted it on record that he had never confessed to such a sin. Bushman, a former church historian, unequivocally states that Joseph Smith admitted to the relationship. It is also well documented that Emma Smith lied to protect her family on multiple occasions. Her denial of Smith's affair with Fanny Alger and her claim that she expelled Fanny due to an alleged pregnancy outside of marriage were fabricated. Emma's decision to remove Fanny came immediately after learning about the affair from Oliver Cowdery and had nothing to do with any supposed pregnancy. Emma's actions were motivated by a desire to shield her family's reputation. At this point, Fanny Alger vanished from the historical records of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, only to resurface in late 19th century accounts. Both Mormon and non-Mormon sources, drawing from second-hand testimonies, consistently claimed that Smith had married Alger as a plural wife. Todd Compton, in his comprehensive examination of Smith's plural marriages, assesses this late 19th century evidence and its varying degrees of reliability. Compton concludes that, despite the brief nature of their relationship, Alger was indeed one of Joseph Smith's earliest plural wives, rather than merely a casual sexual partner. Contrarily, historian Lawrence Foster challenges Compton's interpretation, suggesting that while contemporary evidence strongly suggests Smith and Alger engaged in sexual relations, it does not indicate that their relationship was regarded as a formal marriage by Smith or his contemporaries. Foster argues that prior to Smith's first officially recorded plural marriage to Louisa Beaman in April 1841, Smith's earlier sexual relationships may have been considered marriages, but we lack convincing contemporary evidence supporting such an interpretation. Following Smith's death, when Alger's brother inquired about her relationship with Smith, she curtly responded, "That is all a matter of my own, and I have nothing to communicate." The first comprehensive list of women purported to be Smith's plural wives was published in 1887 by Andrew Jensen, an assistant historian for the LDS Church. This list initially included 27 women, excluding Emma Smith, but now identifies 49 women. However, historians and scholars, including Fawn M. Brody, George D. Smith, and Todd Compton, differ on the exact number and identities of Smith's plural wives. The discrepancies stem from a lack of supporting documents for many of these alleged marriages. As Todd Compton has noted, for numerous marriages, absolutely nothing is known of the marriage after the ceremony. Aside from his marriage to Emma, Smith's other marriages were not legally recognized and were considered purely religious unions. Of course, Smith's plural marriages were not legally recognized, as polygamy was illegal in the United States. If Smith had openly admitted to these marriages, he would have been subject to arrest for violating federal laws. On page 128 of the court transcript, Lorenzo Snow was asked the question, Runnels alleges, Q. Could he, Joseph Smith, receive a revelation and act upon it that was contrary in its teachings and provisions to the laws of the church to govern the church, without a violation of those laws? A. Yes, sir, I see that distinctly and understand it, and I want you to understand it too. Snow could not dismiss the issue, as Joseph Smith had provided a revelation on polygamy in section 132 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Moreover, in the early 1830s, Smith instructed missionaries who were already married to take Native American women as additional wives. We then get the following from Snow, Q. Now suppose that a revelation should be accepted by a few people before it is made known to the church, and that revelation is contrary to the doctrines of the church. If it is true that it is obligatory on the few people to whom it is made known, and it is contrary to the law of the church as accepted by the church, what position would these few people be in? Well, in rather an unpleasant position. Q. They would be in a position of violating the law of the church, wouldn't they? A. No, sir, not necessarily. What did Snow mean by his last reply? What do you think? So you may be asking yourself, what does this all have to do with the Temple Lot case? And what was it all about? The Temple Lot is a small parcel of land located in Independence, Missouri. In the early 1830s, Joseph Smith designated this lot as the location for a proposed temple for a prophesied city of Zion, or New Jerusalem. In 1831, Bishop Edward Partridge of the Latter-day Saints purchased the temple lot from Jones H. Flournoy and Clara Flournoy on behalf of Smith's Latter-day Saint Church. 1. Partridge held the property in trust for the church. The planned temple was never constructed, and the Latter-day Saints were eventually expelled from Missouri. This led to a protracted legal dispute over the property's ownership, with 3 separate theories emerging regarding who inherited the legal title. Ultimately, the Church of Christ, Temple Lot, the Hedrikites, ended up in possession of the most prominent 2.5-acre section of the 63.5 acres that Bishop Partridge had acquired in 1831. On April 7, 1884, a Hedrikite conference authorized the construction of a house of worship on the property. By April 6, 1887, a building committee was formed and given the green light to commence construction immediately. At their conference on October 6, 1889, the Hedrikites reported the completion of a small church building on the northeast corner of the property. However, no structure was erected on the exact site thought to be designated for the temple, the central part of the sparsely wooded field. Observing lumber and other building materials rapidly accumulating on the site, on June 11, 1887, the RLDS Church served written notice to the Church of Christ, Temple Lot, to cease and desist performing any construction on the disputed site. However, construction continued, and media reports of the day indicate that a habitable structure was in place as early as that summer of 1887. On September 10, 1888, visiting elders from the Utah-based church were welcomed and invited to lecture in the building, which apparently was completed by that time. On August 6, 1891, the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, RLDS Church, filed a lawsuit in the United States District Court for the Western District of Missouri, asserting an equitable claim to the Temple Lot, which was then under the control of the Church of Christ, Temple Lot. After Joseph Smith's death, the Latter-day Saint movement had fragmented into several distinct churches. Joseph Smith III, Smith's son and president of the RLDS Church, asserted that the RLDS Church was the legitimate successor to the original Latter-day Saint Church. Initially, the Temple Lot Church claimed the property based on legal title. However, as the case progressed, it also argued that it was entitled to the land as the rightful successor to the original church. The Utah-based LDS Church also became involved, providing financial support and legal counsel to the Hedrikites. This returns us to the beginning of the video, so let's clarify the outcome of the trial. The case was dismissed at the appeals level, with the higher court essentially nullifying its existence. Contrary to claims that the Community of Christ won the case and thereby exonerated Joseph Smith concerning polygamy, the reality is more complex. It remains uncertain whether Joseph Smith III was aware of his father's practice of polygamy. There is a possibility that Emma Smith may have deceived him, shielding the family's perception of Joseph Smith's actions and preserving a favorable view of him for his children. The Temple Lot case primarily highlighted that Emma Smith's testimony regarding Joseph Smith's actions was unreliable, as it became evident that Joseph's plural marriages extended beyond previous records. The case also led to the Community of Christ, formerly RLDS Church, acknowledging that Joseph Smith did practice polygamy over 100 years later, a stance they disputed during the case. Outside of that, there is nothing more to be said about it, minus a land claim. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so kindly for watching. This is the Ex-Mormon Informant signing off for today.